Hi, everybody. It's Mary Milhone. Welcome to the To Be Determined with Mary Milhone on Armed Radio Global with JOEROXX. Today, I have the beautiful Holly Davidson.
Hey, everybody. Thank you, Mary. Beautiful. That's awesome.
This is Holly from Josh and Holly's World, and I've been begging her to be on my show because I freaking love her.
And you got me.
I got her.
Yeah. Through all the time and all, you got me.
So Josh sent me a clip of their first episode that they filmed of their show that they filmed at Mario Lopez's house that I can't seem to shut up about.
That was such a good time. We had so much fun doing that show. Like, Josh and I are so crazy together, and we're definitely like a salt and pepper. I think that he is definitely he's so nice and so charismatic, and he's such like a good guy. Like, you know those down south boys that all the women dream about that
he's
treat
from
you
Oklahoma.
right? Yeah, he's not down
Oklahoma.
south, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay. So he's like that southern gentleman. And then you have me, and I'm like the fucking firecracker. and I'm always saying things and shooting things. And Josh just looks at me and he's like, Holly, you cannot say that. And I'm like, why? And he's like, because you can't say things like that. And I'm like, oh, Josh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it came out so wrong. But we always have such a good time together. And Josh and Holly's World is really about how Josh and I make shit happen and what we do to make things happen and how we go about making things happen. And a lot of the time it's through our experiences, just by working. You know, a lot of people think that you need to have like a master's degree or you need to have some type of degree from college to be in the positions we're in. And really that's not what it's about. It's really about like experience. And through experience, you learn what to do and what not to do. And through experience, it helps, like, it kind of, you gain focus. So when shit happens that you don't like or you don't like the way it's working out, what I do and what I've learned is I start focusing on, well, now I know what I don't want, so I'm going to turn my focus on what I do want. And I'm going to concentrate on what I do want, and I'm only going to talk about the things that I want so I can start attracting those things. And a lot of what I've done is basically, it's really simple. It's really about manifestation and the law of attraction. And I really just feel, you know, like in...
have you always thought about this?
No.
Have you always had your beliefs in the law of attraction?
No, not at all. No.
What you put out there, you get back?
Yeah, I was really not, I never really was into that. To me, it was just like, I had a lot of things happen working in the music industry and with different artists and whatnot. And it's really easy, especially in today's world, to kind of be, when something doesn't go right, to concentrate on, man, that was fucked up. Why did they do that to me? And vent to other people about the one thing that is wrong. And I think I was like that a lot. It seemed like somebody always irritated me or pissed me off or didn't get back to me fast enough or whatnot. And I think through working on projects and things going wrong and, really getting introduced to like people like Abraham Hicks or Wayne Dyer or Les Brown or Joel Osteen or whatnot. I mean, I think teachers come to you as you're ready and as you're prepared.
Wait, and you met Joel Osteen?
No, I mean like his books and stuff.
Oh,
being introduced to them.
I'm a fan. I love him.
Joel Osteen's awesome, right?
Every week, maybe.
He's so
I love
uplifting.
you, Joel.
And so I think that going through, like, being in the music industry for about 15 years, I worked on the urban side, and I worked with some of the greatest. Like, I worked with Wendell Wellman, who produced for, like, Boyz II Men, Hi-Fi, Janet Jackson, and he taught me a lot. And then I worked with some rappers that are pretty big in the industry and, like, were connected to Akon and whatnot. And there was things that happened in the industry that, being a girl, that probably wouldn't have happened to men. So I was in very, very situations, just different situations where, one point I was held at gunpoint. What?
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone through a lot of stuff, and a lot of people don't, they look at my success now and they're like, you're so successful, you're so lucky, but what they really don't understand is how I got to where I'm at today. And it wasn't through my parents being loaded or my uncle being in the music industry and me just stepping in. No, it was through hustle and through grind. And it was through being my authentic self. I never tried to be anybody else. I always did me. And when people didn't understand me, that's okay, because at the end of the day, it wasn't about what I wrote up. It wasn't ever about proposals. Like, if you ask me to do a proposal, I'll just look at you like you're high. But at the end of the day, I come in with results.
Okay, wait.
And
we need to go back to when you were held up by gunpoint.
Yeah,
I need to know what happened.
Okay, so I was working with the camp. It was actually Akon's camp, and there was a really well-known producer, and he's responsible for a lot of #1 hits. I mean, he's insanely good. Mm-hmm. And we were at an event. I think we were at Club Avalon, which Avalon is like a really big club in Hollywood. I don't even know if it's still there because I'm not in that scene anymore. Mm-hmm. And he had forgotten his ID, and he needed it, even though people knew who he was.
Right.
So I jumped in his SUV, and I'm like horrible. I'm really good at a lot of things. Like, there's not too many things that I can't do. Mm-hmm. And I know I sound super cocky, but I'm also the first to admit what I suck at.
Right.
And so I would say one thing that I fall short on are directions. Like, for sure.
Oh my God.
Hands down.
Absolutely.
I go to LA twice a week and I still get fucking lost. Like, I suck at directions, and I'm okay with admitting that. That's okay.
Holly, why do you think I have so many miles on my car?
Yeah, it's like ridiculous. So I remember getting in the car, and I don't drink, and the reason why I don't, well, wait, let me back up. I do drink. I'll have a couple beers here and there.
Okay.
But being a single mom and having my first child at 20 years old, there was never a time where I felt like I could get completely drunk or fucked up. And the reason why is because I didn't want to get a phone call, and I didn't want to... Is this live? I look horrible.
Okay.
I didn't want to get a phone call.
Wait, hold on, I think...
Okay, we're stopping.
No, there we go.
Okay.
Just started recording.
Okay, so
Sorry,
I didn't want to get a phone call and, like, basically... them say, hey, Nolan fell off the bed, he cracked his head, and I was too fucked up to get in the car and drive to the hospital.
Right.
So I've always, since 20 years old, or 21, I'll have a beer or a couple of beers, but I will never get to the point where I can't jump in the car and drive to my kids. My kids are first priority, they always are, and they always will be. Mm-hmm. And so being at the club, he's like, can you go back to the studio off of Colorado and get... my ID, and I'm like, yeah, of course. So I drove back to his place, which I found because I had the MapQuest at the time. And when I was driving back from getting his ID, I couldn't find the ID. I looked all over the studio. He finally calls me and says, just kidding, it's in the back of my wallet. And I'm like, fuck, dude. So then I come back, and somehow I got lost in Skid Row. And the next thing I know is somebody opens my car up and puts a gun to my head, and I'm like sitting there shaking. And I mean, it was the scariest thing ever, but I learned a lot. I really did learn a lot. I learned that, I mean, you just learn so much. When things happen, you just learn things.
How'd you get out of it?
I don't know if I can say this, but the car, let's just put it this way. The car that I was driving, they recognized the car, and I think he was, like, completely caught off guard when he saw it was me and the driver's side, and nobody else was in the car. Thank God.
She was driving a pink Volkswagen Bug.
No, I wasn't.
I'm just kidding.
So I was driving a black SUV, black tinted windows,
okay.
and so he literally, like, stuck the gun to my head, opened my door, and I'm, like, freaking out. I didn't call the car, I didn't do anything. I was young, I was dumb. I just looked at him, and I didn't really know what to do at the time. And the next thing I know is he's like, oh, like, it was like my bad almost. And then he, like, ran off, and I just continued to drive with the club.
Wow.
So, I mean, that happened, and then there was another time where I was actually in an office at a meeting, and I was upstairs, and I'm not going to tell you the rapper's name, but he has a bunch of platinum records, and about 5 of the guys basically tried to do some things to me, and it was almost like it wasn't me. I've never been in a fight. I don't... You know that saying, just because you're invited into an argument, you don't have to attend?
Correct.
I don't really do. I try to stay away from drama. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to be involved with it. I don't have the time for drama. Who does, right? I mean, I don't want to hear about it. Like, I don't care.
Absolutely.
And it was almost like this overpowering sensation came over me. And I was fighting these guys off of me for about a half hour. And I was kicking, and I was screaming, and I was cussing, and I was punching, and I was kicking, and I was young. And I just remember after 20 minutes or 30 minutes of fighting, they finally left me alone. And when they left, they took my purse, my car, my keys. They took everything. And I remember walking down the stairs. And when I was walking down the stairs from the office, I saw all these women in the lobby. And I knew they could hear me. And at that moment, it was almost like it was almost like I had compassion for the women.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't mad at them. I wasn't angry that they didn't come up and help me. I had compassion to where I felt bad for them because I had this overwhelming sensation that what happened to me happened to them. Mm-hmm. And I just had so much compassion for the women sitting and staring at me. And I remember just walking down the stairs, and I went to a payphone. And this was when there were still payphones around. Mm-hmm. And I called my buddy Wendell, and I couldn't even talk. I'm pretty loud and vocal, and I couldn't even talk. I was like, Wendell, like my voice was completely gone.
Drained, huh?
I said, yeah, I was completely drained. I said, something happened. I said, my purse is gone. Everything's gone. I'm going to get in the cab. I don't want to stay in this area. It was a good area. And I got in the cab, and I said, I need you to meet me outside because I can't pay for the cab. And he's like, Holly, are you okay? And I said, I'll see you when I get to your house. So I got his address again, and I showed up at Wendell's house, and he came out, paid for my cab, and he was like, do you want to call the cops? And I said, no. Because I knew. If I called the cops, like sometimes you have to do certain things to advance, right? And I knew that calling the cops at that moment, it just wouldn't have been a good thing. Right. It was just... It would have been, that could have been my life on the line, and I didn't want to go through that route. And so I knew karma would end up coming back, and now the guy's in jail for rape. So, so sometimes things happen for a reason, but, a lot of those things, a lot of times people would have given up. Like, if that happened to a lot of people, they would have thrown in the towel and been like, screw this. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm over it. Like, it's not worth it. And there was something inside of me, and I don't know, guys, if it's not because I'm better. It has nothing to do with that, but I really feel like there was something inside of me that knows I'm working this hard because I know I'm supposed to, things happen for a reason, and I know. I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't try to find out, but there's a bigger picture and a better picture for me.
You feel it in your gut, don't you?
Yeah, and it's like this unbelievable driving force
yes,
to where people are like, I look at your site and you're all over the place. You're doing so many things. And I know because I'm like, it's just this sensation. Like when people I used to go to Thanksgiving I still do, but when I go to Thanksgiving at my parents' house, they're always like, well, why are you working? And I'm like, well, because I got to do this. And at the moment, it was like I wasn't enjoying the company of others, but it's not because what they were saying weren't interesting me or an interest to me. It was more to the point where there's a bigger picture. Does that make sense? And I now discovered, that's my phone. I know it's blowing up.
Oh, no, I thought it was my phone.
I've now discovered that, like, as I'm putting things together, I've realized, like, oh my God. I know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, and I know exactly why I've gone through these trials and these tribulations and, the men and the divorces, and I know exactly why, because through bad always comes good. And one of my favorite quotes I would say is like, people want miracles to happen, and I think I told you this on the phone,
yes,
but you cannot be in a position, you cannot expect a miracle without going through misery, and I read this in a book also, but misery is always accompanied by a miracle. So a lot of people are like, well, I want millions of dollars, and I want to win the lotto, and I want all these great miracles, but yet they don't want to have to go through the sacrifices that other people went through to get to that miracle.
Correct.
Does that make sense? And
absolutely.
I'm just a firm believer that everything always happens for a reason. Mm-hmm. And even though at the time you're going through something and it seems like complete shit, and it seems like you're struggling and you're drowning or you're kicking or you're fighting or you're trying to overcome that, and you're trying your hardest, and at that moment it kind of consumes you.
Right.
But you have to realize that right then, when you're going through that struggle, you might not know the reason why.
Never know
but
the reason.
But 5 years from now, you get it, and you're like, oh my God, that makes sense.
I know.
Now I know.
I know.
So
I agree with you. 1,000%.
Yeah, so it's like, so anybody out there that's struggling or going through like hard times, you just got to know, like, to get to the top of the hill, you have to go through the valley. Mm-hmm. There is no other way to get through the top of that hill. Mm-hmm. And I'm so thankful for all my experiences, because if I didn't have those experiences, I wouldn't have the knowledge that I have now to really believe in the law of attraction and to really feel good. Because when you feel good, I promise you guys, you attract good.
Right.
I mean, that's what happens. It's the law. There is no other way around it at all. So I think that, so
tell me how you utilize the law of attraction. Do you sit and pray? Do you meditate? Do you expect? Do you believe? Like, tell me.
Okay, so
do you manifest something in your head, or you manifest something, a thought in your head, and you just wait for it to appear?
No.
Okay.
Well, I guess kind of. I don't.
Explain, Lucy.
Okay.
Explain.
So I kind of think that everybody. I do what works for me.
Okay.
And what works for me might not work for everybody else. Does that make sense? Kind of like I have 3 kids.
Okay.
All my kids get disciplined differently because. If one child may react well to timeout, my 15-year-old will just tell me to fly a fucking kite. He doesn't care, right? So it's like, depending on the kid or the situation, you have to parent and adjust and expand and change, right? I mean, one of the sayings is you have to learn to be flexible like a palm tree, and another saying is hurricanes pass, but they never come to stay. So you have to be able to adapt, and you have to be flexible, kind of like water. Does that make sense?
Totally.
So for me, what the law of attraction means to me is I focus on feeling good. No matter what, I focus on feeling good. So I can get news that, something horrible happened, and something with a deal, a business transaction, or I don't know, maybe one of the companies I represent decides they don't want to move forward with me. I look at that instead of, oh my God, I lost a check. I need to replace that income. I look at it as the universe is getting ready to put another opportunity in front of me. And instead of being anxious or worried, I become excited about the next possibility, and I start looking for clues and looking for signs.
I love that.
I become excited.
I get butterflies when something stops in its tracks and it fails. In other words, most people would see it as a failure. I literally start getting butterflies in my stomach, like, oh God, what's up? What's around that corner?
I have to admit, at first
serious.
I'm very loyal.
Okay.
So when something happens, it really does. I do get upset because I work really hard on everything I do.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of like a breakup. Does that make sense?
Yes.
However, I'm also not an attached person. So what that means is a lot of people are like, my family says you have no emotions. Like, you're so not sensitive. And I'm like, well, I am, but only to what is really important to me, not to materialistic things. I don't care about my cars. Like, people are like, oh, do you have this type of purse? I'm like, I could give a shit about that type of purse. Like, I don't care about clothing really, or cars, or jewelry, or any of that crap. Because it's not important to me. Does that make sense? Like, what's important to me is giving people advice and helping people feel good and strategizing with them so they, too, can reach their goals. And a lot of people think that, well, a lot of people say to me, well, are you getting paid to do this? And I'm like, well, to be honest with you, I kind of am, because it feeds my soul. Does that make sense? And when I feel,
I get it too.
And so when I feel
rich inside.
So when I feel like I'm helping somebody out, that makes me feel good. Does that make sense?
It's not about that $20 check for a
compliment. No, I don't know. It's not. Sometimes you just need to. I just look at what I'm good at, and I feel blessed that I'm able to help somebody out make a better decision or a right decision, or stop them from making a big mistake or throwing money here or whatnot, right?
Absolutely.
So for me, it's about feeling good. And one thing I don't do, and I've never done this since I was a little girl, I've never, even Wizard of Oz, I've never watched a movie that has any type of really loud noises, or that is anything that has to do with I don't know, bad energy, wrong energy, killing, cutting, anything of that nature since I was a little girl. No, not at all. Because I don't know why. I mean, now I know why, but back then I didn't know why. I just thought it scared me.
Okay.
But in reality, I feel like I am sensitive to stuff like that. Even if I'm in the movie theater now and there's a killing, I cover my eyes. I won't watch a killing movie, but if there's a preview before a movie and there's gunshots or killing, I cover my eyes and I try to hold my ears or close my eyes because I'm super sensitive to stuff like that. Not because I'm going to cry.
Are you an empath?
But what's that?
What's that? An empath is somebody who could feel basically what the people around them are feeling.
No.
You have a connection, and then you feel what they feel.
No, but I am pretty sensitive to different things, like in spirit world, I guess you would call it. So, and I know that, and I've always known that since I was like, something happened to me when I was 6 years old, and it scared the crap out of me. And I grew up in like a Catholic church, and I was told that all of that stuff's like demonic, and you're gonna go to hell if you do this. So,
did you see spirits?
I was like 6 or 7 years old, and I was laying in bed, and I was sleeping, I guess, and I just remember I was floating in the air, but I just saw myself looking down at my body.
You had an out-of-body experience.
And I was like 6 or 7 years old.
They're horrifying.
And I remember it, to me, how I would describe it would be almost like the umbilical cord attaching my soul to the body.
To the body.
And I remember my dad slamming the door, and I remember feeling like I shook because I think my soul jumped back in my body.
Yes.
But at the moment, I remember wanting to travel, and it scared the shit out of me. But I used to say prayers every single night, went from 6 on. Please, dear God, do not let me see. Like, I don't want to see spirits. And this was when I was a baby. Like, I was a little girl. And nobody's taught me about that. Like, that was not okay in the Catholicism. Like, not at all. And so I used to tell God, but keep my ears and my heart open. Meaning, I don't want to see. I don't want to see bad things, good things, anything. And I've kind of, since I was a little girl, I didn't want to attract any type of bad things. So I've always been very sensitive to what I watch.
Right, what you let in.
And what I let in.
Yeah.
And, I mean, so going through that, like, I've noticed, like, I'm sensitive to things. No, I cannot feel what you're feeling. And this is the really fucked up part. Like, when somebody feels bad, I'm like, well, that sucks for you. And I try to tell them what to do. But if they don't get it, I don't play for the victim rules. Does that make sense? If somebody's a victim, well, that sucks, you're a victim, and you're always going to be a victim, and let me tell you why.
Because you keep giving it power?
You keep giving it power. Have you ever talked to somebody, and every time you talk to them, they're always telling you about everything that's going wrong in their life?
Yes.
Okay. So, and my response is, well, is there anything that's going right? I mean, you're not in the hospital. Your kids are alive and well. They're not in ICU. You have your health. You have a car. You have a job, right? You have a roof over your head. You're eating, right? Let's talk about all the good things, because I'm so tired of talking about all the bad things, because it's kind of like the same old song, just different lyrics.
Right.
Right? And so when people are in that, I try to teach them how to come out of it, but I also cannot let that interfere with what I'm doing. Does that make sense? Like,
absolutely.
I think that you got to be very careful, because everybody carries an energy, and every thought is a vibration, right? And so I'm very careful with how I guard myself. Does that make sense? I guard myself. And I'm not at all, like, if people asked you, is Holly a psychic? No, not at all. Not at all. Like, I can't. Psychics is a different gift, and they can pinpoint, and I think they have more control of the ability, where
I got that.
Oh, see, that's awesome. See, I don't have that at all. So I can't say to my Nana, come visit me. Like, that's not how it works. I can get visited, and I'll know it's her, but I can't pinpoint when they're coming, what they're going to talk to me about, or, anything like that. So, I don't know, it kind of just works for me. But the law of attraction, I think, has been huge, especially this year. I mean, I don't know if you've seen what I've been posting, but I'm kicking ass this year. And I mean, I'm seriously kicking ass.
But the thing is the universe is bringing what you deserve.
Correct. Correct. And
you put this out, it's coming back to you.
And not only that, but it's not like, it's effortlessly.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
It's
the
like
difference.
this.
Yeah, it's effortlessly, and I am always taking the path of least resistance. So opportunities come to me, and based on the opportunity, I'll try. And if I feel like, I've put in a couple calls and shot out the emails, and I'm not really getting a response, I don't worry about that. I don't stick to that. I don't force it any longer. It used to be I would force things to happen. I would close it. I was a pit bull. But now I no longer have to do that. And it's like things are just falling on my lap effortlessly. And the only thing, you guys, that I've changed is feeling good. That's all I did. all I decided to do is to feel good.
What did you
That's
do?
it.
Give up fear? Fear of...
Well, you know that quote, I love that quote about fear, and I don't know who said this, but it says, you can either do two things with fear. You can either forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. Yeah, you know, it's not fear, because I think, I don't know, I wouldn't say I gave up fear, because there's still things that I'm scared about, you know, that you worry about. I mean, I think fear is natural, but I also know that we came into this world, right, with we didn't, like when we were in our mom's womb, we didn't say, don't forget our nose, don't forget my hair, don't forget my feet, make sure I have 10 toes. You know, we didn't dictate what we looked like or how we were. So, and then we get into this world, and all of a sudden, the creative intelligence that created us in the womb, we're trying to override and overpower. And and by overriding and overpowering and trying to make things happen, all you're doing is creating resistance. And then when you get mad that things aren't happening, and you start focusing on why is this going wrong, and your whole focus is on everything that's going wrong, then you're just attracting more of the wrong and wrong and wrong and wrong, and then you feel like shit, and now you're spiraling down, right?
Damn, Holly,
so
you're deep.
for me, I have flipped it.
Okay.
I don't want to talk about what's going wrong. I want to talk about everything that's going right. I want to talk about, you know, and even when there's days, even with all this stuff, there's still days where I'm like, I mean, I'm getting better, but nobody's perfect, right? I mean, so it's hard to shit Skittles. It really is. But there's days where I lay in my bed in the morning and I go through my head everything that I love and I'm appreciative about.
Every day you do this?
Every morning.
Okay,
Every morning
awesome.
and right before I go to sleep. And a lot of my times I spend, I mean, and they could be like the lamest thing to you guys. And before I remember like being in the grind and in the chase when nothing was working out for me in the music industry, I remember chasing so hard and it didn't work out.
Okay.
But it was because I was pushing and I was resisting and I was doing all this stuff, right? So, what were we talking about? I forgot. Sorry, guys.
You sound like Josh.
Hold on. So I would then flip it to, you know, people are like, look at the sunset. I'm like, you've seen one, you've seen them all. Like, I was very cold. Like, I wasn't allowing the universe to show me the miracles that happened.
What made you change your mind?
So I just started being grateful for different things, little things. Like, I'm so grateful for the house that I live in. I'm grateful for my kids. I'm grateful for their health. I'm grateful that I have family and friends that love me and that are supportive. And I'm grateful for the abilities and the talents that I have. The sunsets, coffee in the morning. I love coffee in the morning. Like, it's probably my favorite thing. Like, waking up and having a cup of coffee and a cigarette. Not that I'm promoting cigarettes. I just personally like it. So, hummingbirds and the ocean and the power of the ocean and more in tune with things that money doesn't buy. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And by focusing and being appreciative of those things, you change your vibration. And when you change your vibration, it really takes a lot to bring you back down, right?
I know. You are on fire right now.
Well, thank you. So, and it's not me. It's literally from changing the way I thought. Like, I mean, everything that's happening, like Entrepreneur Magazine and Forbes.com, like they contacted me and they're like, you were, what was it called? You're an applicant for being one of the experts on Forbes.com or whatever on the council. And I'm like, okay, what do you need from me? And they're like, send us your bio. And I'm like, okay. So I sent in my bio, and then I went and looked at who sits on the council. And I was like completely blown away because they're all graduates of Harvard and Yale and Microsoft and all these huge companies. And I'm thinking to myself, like at that moment, I remember thinking, fuck, they are never going to put me on this. Because, you know, you become realistic with things, right?
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? I stopped and I slowed. And here's the other thing. It's about slowing your thought down. Like a speeding train. You cannot stop the train instantly, right?
So
but you can slow that momentum down. And so what I ended up doing was like, I ended up figuring out a way to taking my bad thoughts and slowing them down. So at that moment when I'm like, God, they're never going to choose me. Like, I look like bubblegum to compare to these guys. I'm like, wait, what am I talking about? I've made a ton of shit happen. And you know what? And I flipped it right then and there. I am so grateful that I was even selected.
Right?
That my name was even
honor.
brought up. That they contacted me. And how did they get my number? Right?
Holly,
and I
for real.
flipped it. And then I let it go. I didn't look. I didn't check my email every 5 minutes to see if I got accepted. I let it go. I forgot about it. I was doing other things, and then, bam, I got a letter. Congratulations. You are going to be sitting on the Forbes Council. You were selected unanimously. I guess you have to be selected unanimously to get on. It just so happened that it was literally, you guys, it wasn't anything. It's not because I'm more special. It's not because I'm great at what I do. It's literally because I changed my thought process. That's all I did. So I changed it, and by changing it, it made me, it opened up to be in accepting mode, I guess you want to call it, and allowing mode.
So
that's it.
Did you change your thought process overnight, or did it take...
Yeah. One night I went to sleep and I had a brownie, and the next morning I woke up and I was a whole fucking different person.
Hey, that's how Josh had his epiphany.
No. Did I what now? No, it probably about a year and a half.
Did it take something huge?
Yeah, it did. So actually, I owned a dance studio, and I, owned Hollywood Dance for about 5 years, and I loved it. It was awesome. Like, my philosophy was everyone's a star, and my whole thing with the dance studio was to train them and get them good, but also to discover everybody has a talent, and sometimes your talent might not be as obvious. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like, there's some little girls that, oh my God, they're just great dancers. They you can see it, you can tell. But then you have little girls that may not be the best of dancers, but their personality kills it. Right. Or they have their flexibility is insane. Or they can tumble. Or their music, their clarity with music and notes and beats is crazy. And my job was to discover these children's talent and showcase them and highlight them and try to make them feel good about themselves. Aww. And it ended up happening where the studio closed down, and I got a lot of crap for it. But at that moment, first I was in the music industry, and I was successful. I took Cora to number 13 on Billboard charts. We worked with the best of the best, and she worked with Dave Audet, who has like 100 and, I don't know what he has now, 102 number one hits. Like, wow. She was on Billboard's Music Week in Europe. Her video was everywhere, and I ended up opening the studio. And when the studio closed, that was my whole income. It was gone. And I remember at that time on, I was scared. I had 3 kids. I don't collect child support, never have. Like, everything, I've always counted on myself. And that scared the crap out of me, because I was like, I can't collect any unemployment or anything because I've owned my own company and I don't even know how to do it. And I don't even want to waste time doing it. And so when that happened, which I thought was the biggest nightmare. I mean, I was trashed on the internet. I mean, it was bad. It ended up being a blessing. And because if that would have never happened, I would have never wanted to feel better. And I felt like I was drowning, and I almost felt like I wasn't going to be okay. Does that make sense? Wow. Like, I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know, like, I had 3 kids. They all go to school at different times. Like, how am I going to get a job and say, oh, but by the way, my kindergartner goes to school at 10 and gets out at 1. And I also have a 2-year-old, and I can't put him in childcare because I don't really believe in that. God, yes. And so it was like, I would go to sleep at night worried. I would cry. And I just remember at the time my boyfriend Anthony was like, you should listen to these people. And I'm like, okay, well, what the hell? I feel like shit. So if anybody's going to make me feel better, then let's do it. And I remember starting to listen to, like, Les Brown and Abraham Hicks and reading books and reading quotes. And I really became a student of what I wanted to have for myself. So, like, if you want to be happy, then become a student of happiness, right?
And research it.
Yeah, like, if
it's
you want
not just going to fall on your lap. Yeah, you do have to learn. You have to reprogram your mind.
Yeah, and if you want to be, like, if you want to be wealthy, then study wealth, right? And show you're a student of wealth. You can't do things. I mean, it's all impulse too, right? And then I learned about feeling good. And I learned about positive thoughts, and I just started to feel better. And the more I felt better, the more things happened for me. And the more things that happened for me, the more I had an impulse. And I would wait for that impulse to happen to then attack. Because if you do it the opposite, if you feel like crap, and you're still you're going out there and trying to make it happen, you're almost forcing it. Right? And you're being aggressive with people because you think that's how you have to close a deal.
Right.
You're creating resistance. Does that make sense? Like,
absolutely.
you're coming from a desperate or a despair.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of coming from, everything always happens great for me. I always feel good. I always attract the best opportunities. I don't have to force myself on people. I don't have to be aggressive with people. I don't have to say a certain thing to make a deal close.
Mm-hmm.
And if you come from more of allowing,
Mm-hmm.
it starts happening for you. When you come from despair, or when you're afraid, or when you come from urgency,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to happen for you because you're creating resistance. And I mean, that was the beauty of the law of attraction. And like, I absolutely am such a believer of it. And I think that it all comes down to your thoughts and feeling good and knowing how to slow down the momentum of when shit's going. Like, when you have a bad thought, instead of letting it spiral you down, to me, it's about learning how to not control those thoughts, but changing your thoughts, you know,
Right.
and softening your thoughts a little bit. So you end up feeling better and tapping into that.
I think, too, if you dissect that thought, break it down, why you're feeling that way,
Correct.
who it's coming from,
Yeah.
you know, the logistics of the problem and how easy it is to solve it. If you break it down instead of letting it grow in your head, because fear can just
Fear will
magnify
eat you alive.
things.
Yeah.
It's debilitating sometimes.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
You have to control your fear.
I think, and
fear
I
is
don't-
all in your head.
I really don't think there's anything to fear about in life. Like, I really don't, because...
No, unless, look, you even had a gun to your head and you handled it like a boss.
But I think that with, I don't know, I don't think there's anything to fear, because at the end of the day, like...
What's the worst thing
like, take away my
happen
house, take away my materialistics, take away your health. You're always going to be okay, because I look at it like this. Our bodies are our vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I see it. Before we were in our bodies, we were in the spirit world. And this is just what I believe. And a lot of people are like, you're Catholic and you believe this. I'm kind of like, you know what works for me is I kind of pick and choose on each religion what I like. And then when I don't like, I just throw out the window. I'm like, that doesn't apply to me.
Exactly.
Like, you know,
And
so,
me too.
yeah. So with me is, and the other thing is like, people are like, well, how can you believe in, you know how that some people believe in Jesus, some people believe in, I don't know, Buddha or Jehovah or whatever they're called.
I believe in
To
all
me,
of them.
it's like the same thing.
Yes.
You still believe in a higher power. You still believe in a source. Whether you call it the universe or God or Jesus or Jehovah, I don't give a shit, because to me, it's all the same thing, right?
Yeah,
It doesn't matter. Like, you still believe that somebody created Earth, right, or whatnot. So I think that as long as, if you know that our bodies are just a vehicle and we're here to receive and, you know, love and create and to expand and to contrast and whatnot, then you know that when your body's done, your soul is not really, your soul's not going to die. Your body, your physical world. And that's why death doesn't really get to me. Like, when my grandparents die, and I remember my parents were like, why aren't you crying? And I'm like, because their bodies died, but they're still very much alive. Like,
See,
they're
that
more
means
alive.
your faith is real.
They're more alive than they've
it.
ever been. And, like, you know what's a good analogy? And I don't know if I read this or make it
beautiful.
up, but it's kind of like a fan, guys. You know when a fan's on low, and you can feel it, and you can, like, see the blades or whatever. You know, you can see the blades going around, right? Because it's in a vibration our eyes can see. But as soon as you turn that bitch on high, and the fan is just going super, super fast, you can no longer see the blades, but you can still feel it.
Yes.
But why? Because the fan is now in a higher vibration that our eyes cannot see. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So I apply that to everything in life. It's like my motto. No. So I apply that to a lot of things. Like, I feel like spirits are in a different vibration that our eyes can't see. That's how I see it.
I know when they're in the room. I know when they're in the room, they will move things. They
pennies, feathers,
more than that. I've had some crazy experiences.
You have? Like what?
To where my mom wouldn't even spend the night in my house. I had a psychic neighbor come spend the weekend, and she left the first night. She said, I have to get out of here.
Are they like bad spirits?
In this one home, they wanted everybody out of the house. That's for sure. The house burned down to the ground.
Shut up.
Like 3 people died in it. My dogs would like hang
Okay,
on
yeah, let's not talk about
to
that.
An English Bull Terrier. They're usually tough little guys, like the donkey dog or the target dog. And he would, like, screech his nails backwards. He would not go down this one long hall.
And you, like, lived in it?
I had to. We had nowhere to go.
I would have, like, totally moved out. No, I wouldn't have done that. But I have had, like, my Uncle Mark died. He died of ALS. And I think that's, like, Lou Gehrig's disease.
Yes, it is.
And he was a chef. And when I had lost the studio, it was so funny because I didn't really have groceries. I mean, I hit bottom, guys. Like, I was like, what am I going to do?
Right.
And I remember my brother owned, and it's so funny how things, like, happen. Like, the universe just, like, puts things in front of you. And I didn't really know about the law of attraction then, but I was learning about it. But my brother brought over a big box of produce. And in the produce, like, in the box had all these things I would never buy at the store because I just wasn't then conscientious about what I was eating and stuff.
Right.
And I remember, like, my uncle, I was getting ready to cook dinner, and I didn't know what I was going to cook because I really didn't have anything in my refrigerator, and I was trying to figure it out, you know, and my Uncle Mark came to me, and this is the first time that this has ever happened to me, and I know you guys are going to think I'm freaking crazy.
I won't.
But when I talk, like, yeah, I kind of totally do feel crazy, but
she's not crazy.
But your hair looks great on camera. You look great on camera.
Not in person, though.
No, yes, you do. You look so good. It's so dark in here.
I know it is dark.
So, okay, we could turn on lights. I just don't want to get up. Okay, so, way over there. So, like, what was I telling you about? Okay, so, yeah, so they, you have to pull it. I probably
the fan we were
the long one, yeah. So, anyhow, so I was, oh my God, don't fall. She's like, no, the other one. Okay, you got it. Did it? Yeah. Okay, here we are. Hello. Okay, so I was cooking and I was like trying to figure out what I was going to cook or whatever. And it's okay. So he came in and he was like, he didn't come in. I didn't see him because I don't ever want to see anything. But in my head, I was like talking to myself, but it wasn't myself because it wasn't the words I would be using. Does that make sense? Like I use certain vocabulary and that's how I know it's me, right? His words that he was using were not my words, right? Like how he spoke, his lingo. Not that I could hear his voices is really weird. It's almost like telepathically, I guess, is how you call it. And he's like, Holly, I told you not to put your knives in the dishwasher because he bought me for my wedding at the time. He had bought me like nice, sets of knives that chefs would want or whatever. He's like, I told you not to put, and he's telling me why. And I'm like, okay, Uncle Mark, I'm sorry. And I just had this feeling like he was very busy. And he said, get out the squash. And I pulled out the cucumber because I guess, I didn't know. Yeah. And I was like, that's not a squash. That's a cucumber. It's the one on the other one. So I pulled out the other one, and he had me cook this huge dish of stuff that I would never make in my life. Like I had gnocchi pasta, and I had, it was crazy, you guys. It was so crazy. And I remember at the time Nolan was 8. Now he's 15 years old. And Nolan came in, and he was talking to me, and my Uncle Mark said to me, get him out of the kitchen. Cooking's an art, and you can barely boil water. And so I'm like, hey, Nolan, go out. Like, I'm trying to cook, because he's very, chefs are very serious about cooking.
I know they are.
And he had me,
up there with doctors and lawyers.
Yeah. He, had me take shit I would never do. Like, I didn't know. He took Parmesan cheese and sour cream, and he had me mix it. And it almost made this, gooey cheese. Then he had me take, the squash and all these vegetables and chop them a certain way. And he had me take melt butter with garlic, I think it was, or I don't know what it was, garlic. Mix it and take the vegetables and kind of saute it and then put them in the pan and the tomatoes and everything and saute everything. Damn. And then he had me make gnocchi pasta. And then that cheese was spread in the red sauce, and that was all over the top of the gnocchi pasta with the vegetables. And I remember sitting down, and I was pouring a glass of juice to drink it with, and he told me, Holly, what are you doing? You can't drink it with juice. I want you to taste all the flavors and the aroma of it, or whatever he said. And he said, I'll drink it with water so you can clean your palate, whatever it's called. And I just like, okay. So, of course I did it. And my son said to me, Mom, how did you cook this? And I was like, I don't know. It just came to me. He's like, no, Mom, seriously, who was in the kitchen with you? He knew. And still, if he comes home, I'll ask him, and he will tell you. It was the best dinner I've ever cooked for him.
Wow.
In my whole life. And could I do it now? No. I can't even make white rice. So, my white rice looks like mashed potatoes. I don't know how to do it.
So you made made this gourmet meal with the spirits coming through.
It wasn't spirits. It was my Uncle Mark, you dick. Yeah.
But he was a spirit.
Yeah, but yeah. So, but
he
yeah.
was a spirit, you dick.
Yeah. But it was definitely, yeah, I thought that was pretty cool, and it was pretty interesting, you know, it was fun, and I wish, like, I remember thinking, God, I was talking to him, and he's on the other side. Why didn't I ask him, like, you know, what deals are going to work and what deals are not, because so I don't waste my time. Because
you know what? I so believe in all this. You know who Sylvia Brown is, yeah?
Love her. Read every book about her.
Do you know Aya Echo, my girlfriend on Facebook? That's her granddaughter, Angelia.
I love Sylvia Brown, and I've read her book, Life on the Other Side and Back, or The Other Side and Back Again. I've read so many books about her, but you know what's so crazy is when they visit you, it is not your normal... I think there's 2 layers of you, I guess. There's probably more, but I'm just going to say 2 layers. And it's not your ego that they're talking to. It's your higher self. Because your ego, my ego would have been like, hey, Uncle Mark, fuck the cooking. Here, listen. I have this deal, this deal, this deal.
Right.
Can you tell me which one's going to work so I don't have to do the other 100, I don't have to go through 100 other things?
I think when they speak to you, it's about love. And
it is, and your ego does not come out. And you know what ego stands for, Wayne Dyer? Ego stands for edge God out. When you're thinking of your ego, you're edging God out. Because all you're doing is you're thinking about you.
Right.
Right?
And how you're perceived by the world. Yeah.
And you edge God out, right? But I feel like when you're speaking from your soul, it was my soul that gave me this drive. It's my soul that wants to help other people. It's my soul.
Oh, I know that. I know. And there's something in here that's driving my bus too, and I can't even help it. It's not even what I want all the time.
Yeah, it's your soul. And so
you can't stop.
I was talking to this guy, he's a good friend on Facebook, and he said to me, as I'm on the phone with him, he said, you know what, Holly? And I'm like, what? He's all, do you know you talk from your soul? And I said, really? Well, my soul sure does like to cuss a lot. And he was like, no, you talk from your soul. And I'm like, well, how do you know? Like, why do you know that? Like, what makes you know that? And he says to me, because you don't stutter when you talk and you're not thinking about what you're saying. It just comes out so naturally, and it just flows.
Right.
And so I'm like, oh, I never thought of that. That's interesting.
It's true.
And then I said to him, am I still talking from my soul when I'm talking shit to people? Because, you still get mad and talk shit to people. He's like, well, so at any rate, I just thought that was an interesting
That's so
fact.
Awesome.
Yeah, but I do love Sylvia Brown. I love anything that has to do with beyond this world.
The paranormal. Right? Yeah,
I don't know if that's called the paranormal, but yeah.
I heard your story about the psychic that told you where your ring is. Yeah. And you ran upstairs.
The
and
medium?
Checked.
Chris Riley.
Yeah, and it was exactly where he said.
I love Chris Riley. Yeah.
I know.
And you went, oh my gosh, this is so crazy, you guys.
When you told the story, I was crying.
No, I have to tell you this story. So, Chris Riley, he's like a medium, and he's young, and we look kind of a little bit better. Well, you look great, but I look a little better.
Oh my God. Okay.
So,
you're the cute one. Shut up.
So, Chris Riley, he's from the UK. You guys should totally Facebook him. He's awesome. And the reason why he's so awesome is because he really helps people. Like, he does free, like, readings on people, like I guess if you've, like, lost your grandma or whatever.
Yeah.
There's no proper way to say it. He talks to the dead. And he can, like, tune in with, like, in the spirit world. But he gives away free readings, which I think is really, really cool to do. Really because, like, that's his gift. And, everybody's got to make some type of money because that's what you're able to support yourself. But every day he gets on Facebook Live and he'll give free readings out to all the people that are there commenting. And he's young and he's just, like, so great. So I paid him to do a reading on me. And it was through Facebook Live I don't know, where you chat, like you type or whatever on Facebook. And it was so funny because he started saying all this stuff about me. And I knew it was my Nana because my Nana was, like, I loved her. Like, she was, like, my favorite. Like, I love her. And he's telling me, this lady came in and she looks like she's a maternal thing. And he's talking. And he said, she left you. Well, first he's talking and he told me about, he just told me so much. But the one great thing he told me, and I didn't get it. He said to me, Holly, somebody there's cops involved. He's in trouble. There's cops involved. He's not going to get away with it. And I'm like, I don't know anybody that does drugs. Like, I really don't. Like, I know this sounds, like, really bad, but I mean, I've never really been exposed to that. So, I mean, other than weed, but, like, who doesn't, you know, like, but I don't really know people that do, like, drugs, right? Yeah. And so I'm like, are you sure this message is for me? Because I do have 19 nieces and nephews. He's all, she said it again. And I'm like, well, ask my Nana about this. And he's all, the thing about your Nana is, she's really not answering my questions. She's only talking about what she wants to talk about. And that's totally my Nana. Like, she will ramble on about whatever she wants. She's always been like that. And I remember thinking, like, what? And he said, she's telling you there's a male in your life. He's close to you. He's in trouble. He's not going to get away with it. And it has to do with drugs, and the cops are involved. And I'm like, I don't know who you're talking about. And then I said to Chris, are you sure this reading is for me? Because I started getting like, maybe this is for somebody else, you know, which, whatever. He said, well, your Nana also said that she left you a ring. And at first I thought to myself, oh, yeah, they all say that. You know, of course, they all leave something. And then at the next moment, I thought to my head, I was like, oh, my God, I lost that fucking ring. Because like I said, I'm not attached to stuff, okay? It's just not important to me.
Right.
And he says, your Nana's laughing at you. And I'm like, why? And he's all, because you, and I didn't say that out loud. I was thinking that. He's all, you didn't lose the ring, Holly. Go upstairs.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, just like that. Go upstairs, and in your closet, it looks like a stand. You have a jewelry box. It's all the 4th row down. There's a bunch of paper in one of them. Underneath that's a little bag. Look underneath the bag, and your ring's there. So I run upstairs, and I'm like, now I'm going to know if this guy's full of shit. Okay?
Right.
Not that, I mean, I know you guys a law of attraction, but I'm still learning it. I'm still a student of it, so we can't be perfect all the time. So I go upstairs, I open the door, I look where he tells me, and the ring's there. And I'm like, holy crap.
That's rad.
Right?
That's rad.
Okay, it gets better. So I hang up the phone with him, and he's told me a bunch of other stuff too. But okay, he tried to get into love, and I'm like, I don't care about love. Like, I really don't. Like, been there, done that, whatever. Okay, so 2 weeks go by, but I remember getting off the phone, and I called all my sisters. And I have 6 sisters that come from a really big family. So I have 6 sisters. I have 19 nieces and nephews. So I called the 6 sisters, and I'm like, hey, did your son or daughter get in trouble with drugs? Like, what's going on? All of them are like, no. What are you talking about? No. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't know anybody because I don't really have friends, because I don't really have time to hang out with friends because, one, they don't really have the same interests that I have, or I'm just really busy doing something or whatever. So 2 weeks goes by, and I had a friend, and his mom Facebook messaged me, and I haven't talked to this friend in about 3 years, okay? As soon as I saw the notification and I saw her face, I knew, oh my God, he's in jail. Oh my God. I knew what she was going to say before she said it.
Wow.
And it all made sense. And it was him. And he's serving time, and there was drugs involved. But at any point, the point I'm trying to make is, it's so crazy how things come together for you, and how at that moment it did not make sense. But I also didn't force it. I also didn't go on Facebook and write, and you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm very careful with what I write, right? Or what I do. I didn't create resistance. I kind of let it go. I figured, oh, well, you know, I'll figure out who it is. I didn't try, and it just came to me, and that's how I figured it out. And now I'm so lucky because I figured out this guy has huge potential. He really does. He's such a great guy, and he has such a great purpose in life. And even though he's in jail and he's serving time for something he did, which I completely think he needs to be there, there's a bigger picture. And I was talking to his mom, and I was telling his mom, you know, things happen for a reason. And instead of being upset or scared, you need to be excited for him. And let me tell you why. He's getting the help he needs. He's going to figure out who he is. Not only is he going to figure out who he is, but he's going to tap into his purpose in life. And this is the second time he's gone to jail. And I said to her, maybe he didn't learn the first time.
Right.
But I'm telling you, your son is destined to be something amazing. And I'm also telling you this. Things happen for a reason. If he gets out and he writes a book about it, or he starts talking to people that maybe other people that have drug addiction or trying to do things for money, and he can actually help millions of people around the world that are suffering from the same thing he just went through.
Absolutely.
And in order to be an expert and in order to give advice, you have to have been there and done that, right?
Amen, sister.
And so now I've made it my mission to write him, and I gave him a list of books. Sylvia Brown was in there. Abraham Hicks was in there in the letter I wrote.
Okay.
And I did not write like, what is wrong with you? you fucked up again. That's not what I wrote.
No,
I think the first thing I
that.
said it was, I'm not sure what to say to you. It's been a few years. I think the last time we spoke was December 2014 or 13 or whatever. And I told him that everything happens for a reason. The craziest thing is during the summer, I kept thinking I was seeing him everywhere. And I hadn't seen him in 3 or 4 years. And I kept thinking, oh my God, there he is. Why do I keep seeing him? And I kept wanting to reach out to him, but I didn't want to reach out to him because I didn't want him to be like, she's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And I fought my intuition, and I should have listened to my intuition, but that's okay. And I knew that I had this feeling, this was like months ago, that he wasn't going on the right path. I just had this feeling. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to call him, but I didn't call him because my ego got in the way. I was too afraid of him thinking...
shutting you down? Or
and like thinking that I was trying to contact him for a different reason, right? And,
yes, boys.
At any rate, I let it go. And and in the summer, the feeling got more intensified. I started looking at him and his family's Facebook because I had a feeling something wasn't right. But I didn't want to reach out to the family, so I would look at just to see if I saw any inclination that he was okay, and I would never see anything like showed me he was okay, nothing. And I just remember feeling this almost like, Holly, you have to call. You have to call. And I didn't listen to my intuition.
Holly.
But he ended up, now, he's doing his thing, and I'm really excited for him because he has to me, it's like he's killing off his old him, and he's going to emerge with the man he's supposed to be. And I think that...
they call those ego deaths.
Well, I think ego that's deaths, awesome.
Have you ever had an ego death? Where you just break down and you're just like, no, I'm not going to be that person anymore, and you're just basically born again?
Maybe when I was little.
I had one about 2 years ago.
You did?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I think
absolutely.
That... I think maybe I think that everybody has an ego, and I think that you can minimize your ego, but I don't think you can completely. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you can, but get rid of the ego. Like, I don't know.
I think it was just
I'm sure
that person. I think it was
the
person that accepted certain things that you just stop being that person, and you're like, I'm just gonna be me.
You create a new soul. Yeah. No, not a new soul, but you create. You become your authentic self.
Exactly.
Yes, I believe in that for sure.
I guess that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. But I don't think I've had the epiphany where I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I think that I just try to be the best person that I could be, and realize that there are going to be mistakes, and there are going to be things that I say that people aren't going to like, and that's okay. And you can like me or don't like me, and I'm okay with that too. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And if somebody does me wrong, I'm not the type of person to go on Facebook and trash them and let everybody. I'm not like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
So if somebody does me wrong, I just am like, paths cross for a reason. And sometimes they're there to teach you something or to learn something, or you're there to teach them something. And when the paths cross, I thank them for what they taught me, and I send them love, and I move on my way. Even if they're out there talking crap about me or telling companies not to work with me, because there's a lot of that in this industry, I don't let it get to me. I just keep going. I just go with the flow, and I just do what I need to do. Well,
because you know your truth, too,
Yeah, and I think that a lot of it is, like I said earlier, is, like, you don't, just because you're invited into an argument doesn't mean you have to attend.
Right.
And I think that's super important to understand and to realize, because I think that saves you a lot of time and a lot of energy. And also, I've never really needed acceptance from other people or approval, because I know who I am, and the Creator knows who I am. And to me,
it's beautiful.
That's really all that matters. Not anything else. And I'm not perfect by all means. Like, I get mad, I get pissed, I talk shit, like we all do. But I just try to be the best that I can be, and I try to motivate and inspire and help other people out there that maybe, that I've had through experience, I've gained more knowledge on. Not that I'm smart or anything, but I've just gone through experiences that maybe will help other people out. And if I help one person out there, then I feel good about myself.
Oh,
and,
heck yeah.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to. It's feeling good.
You've had a crazy journey yourself, my friend.
Yeah.
You've come far.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
God, so you have the Forbes column. You have...
I still have to do my profile. I haven't had time to do it, but yeah.
That's okay. Live Mono Worldwide.
Yeah, I partnered up with Josh Berglund, which is Josh and Holly's World. So.
And then Josh and Holly's World, which is a TV show.
And then I'm a producer for the 2017 City Gala, which is like really awesome because that is it's a great foundation, it's a great organization, and it's benefiting, families and children or whatnot. But it has really great, it's at the Symphony Hall, and it's at Disney Symphony Hall, and it's also at the USC building. And so they have the top 4 or 5 people at Forbes doing, speaking for entrepreneurs. It's presented by Entrepreneur Magazine. It has John Travolta's coming. Quincy Jones is accepting a Lifetime Achievement Award. I mean, this is really such a great event with such a great cause. So I was blessed to get that. That fell on my lap. We shot. It was so funny because,
so awesome.
I mean, this is pretty cool right here. This, I think, is the best achievement so far. And I'm so proud of this. So I have a friend named Joyce. She's on my Facebook. Great person, guys. Reach out to her. But her father passed away, and her and her father had this thing called Christmas Is, and I think we called it Christmas is Joy. We did, but Christmas is Joy, and what it was about, it's about benefiting family and children that really don't get to celebrate the, and it's not just Christmas, but I would say celebrate the spirit of Christmas, and Christmas to me means so much, but it's like not just about Jesus' birthday, but it's about how we all kind of come together. Does that make sense? And
that's why I wish Christmas was
just
year
like
round.
Love. Like the love is there,
It's
right?
in the air.
People are just like in a good mood, and December was my biggest month I've ever had in PR, and I really didn't do very much, which is crazy. But at any rate, so I remember talking to the producers, and the producers were like, Holly, you want to put this event together in like 7 days, and you want to have all these companies come in with gifts for these kids, and you want food catered, and you want this, and you want it filmed, and you want lighting, and you want sound, and you want Santa Claus, and you want elves, and you want this, and you want this. We need to do it next year because we got to get a budget. And I said, no. They said, well, why? And I said, because if we do it next year, then there's kids that go without a Christmas. So I don't care how big it is. I don't care how small it is. All I care about is pulling it together so we can bless these children with a Christmas. And so at the end of the day, the producers, a lot of them were busy and weren't able to, help. And Joyce and I mean, we were rock stars. We literally got the venue. We got the venue for free. We handpicked the 40 families, and a lot of them were...
40?
Yeah, children.
Damn.
Yeah. We handpicked them, and what's crazy about it is that a lot of them had lost their houses in the Escondido fire.
Okay.
And here's the thing, when you lose your house, people don't understand this, but typically... if you live in an apartment or whatnot, you're just trying to make it. You're paying your bills. You're doing what you can, So they didn't have renter's insurance, and because who would think that your apartment building's going to burn down, right?
Right.
They didn't have the renter's insurance, so when their house burnt down, everything inside of it they lost, and because they didn't have rental insurance, all their clothes, their beds, their furniture, everything. Their car had liability. So because their car had liability, and the whole car was burnt except for the only thing salvageable in that car was a Razor scooter. So this family in particular lost everything. I mean, everything out the door. So we found families like that, and we interviewed them, and we brought them in, and my dad played Santa Claus, like he's a great Santa Claus, but we had Santa Claus, we had elves, we had a choir, we had a chorus, we brought in performers, we got Kate Leonard from Young and the Restless came, Vincent DePaul, 2-time Emmy Award winner, came in. The food was catered by BC Cafe, which is here in Marietta. Great food. They catered the whole food. Walmart came on board. Chick-fil-A came on board. Target came on board. Salvation Army came on board.
In a week.
And it was Joyce and I putting it all together. And in 1 week, we literally had and it's all on my Facebook page. You guys can check it out. It's called Christmas is Joy. And we shot it, and we got the lighting and the sound and everything, and I'm such a blonde sometimes because I totally forgot I totally forgot to bring the people that run the camera. So I had a director, but I forgot the guys that, hold the camera or that are behind the camera. So the director comes and says, well, where's my staff? And I'm like, well, what staff? He's like, well, you got lighting and sound, but where are the camera operators? And I'm like, oh
no.
Yeah, I kind of forgot that one, but can you still direct it? He was like, okay. So anyway, so we ended up shooting this great thing, and it was so awesome because these kids got so many gifts, and like Will Armstrong came in, who also is a PR company, and he had got his companies to come on board, and Gemma Touchstone, who's the creator of Party Style Magazine, has written books, came in and did some decorations and cakes and stuff. So we kind of all pulled together. And what was so awesome is we did this, and the kids left with so many gifts. Like, each kid got 20 gifts. It was crazy.
Damn.
We had so many gifts afterwards that I gave them all to the Salvation Army, and I said, hand these out. And literally a week later, it was filmed, I think, sometime early December. It was done editing the middle of December. Mm-hmm. And on December 23rd, it was picked up for television. It aired on television all throughout California. December 24th, it was again in rotation. 6 newspapers and magazines did a whole story on it with Benev Skincare, which is, one of the brands that I represent. Mm-hmm. Because they were kind of, they were nice enough to let us use the building. Because that saved money,
Benev did?
Yeah, Benev did, yeah.
From Live Mana, one of the products of Live Mana Worldwide?
So Benev is a company that I represent. So they have, different things, skincare, and they have some great products. Their products are sold, in plastic surgeons' offices and dermatologists' offices worldwide. Their products are amazing. I mean, there is anything bad in them. Like, they work on a cellular level out. So, at any rate, they gave us the building. Unreal. Which is awesome.
That's so awesome.
It hit 6 newspapers and a magazine. It hit television. And I just remember thinking, like, wow, this is pretty cool. This is great.
It's way cool.
And it wasn't even, and I remember having conversations, and some of the people on board were like, well, how are we making money? And I'm like, well, I'm really not doing it to make the money. I know it's work, and I'm going to work my ass off for the next 7 days. I said, but there's going to be kids that don't get anything for Christmas.
No
and,
kidding.
dude, even if I can get them even just, like, pajamas and, like, a teddy bear, like, anything with a little bit of food, like, that would be awesome.
Yes.
And that was my driving force. And through my, you need almost like Oprah Winfrey said, she did that video, it's on my Facebook, but it was through that, I guess, the passion or my intention was so good, that the intention behind it, and that's why it just manifested to be what it was, right?
Right.
And through that, I mean, I think that happened at the same time Forbes was looking at me, and then they see this television show hit, and then they see newspapers and magazines hit, and then the next weekend, the product, Benev, was on CNN HLT, which is really hard to get any product on a news network, and that happened. I mean, it just started, it was almost like a snowball effect.
Right.
And the only thing I did differently in December was just choose to feel good and choose to work from a soul level and not an ego level. And from doing that, beautiful. It it worked. So
I'm so proud of you.
So it works. So yeah, I mean, a lot of things have come from that, and I think it's all through also connecting with people. And, like, a lot of people get this wrong, like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's not, a lot of people are like, oh, well, you connect. No, not really, because if I connect, that's like me saying, oh, here, Joyce, meet Mary, and that's it.
Right.
That's not what I do. I don't just put 2 phone numbers together or an email and say, here you go, meet each other. That's not how I do it. I stay on both sides, and I if I'm connecting you, it's because there's a reason why I'm connecting you, and I already know what that reason is. So what I do then is I tell you exactly why I'm connecting you and what you can get out of it, and then I tell them exactly what I'm connecting them for and what they can get out of it.
Right.
And then it's like synergy.
Exactly.
And I help, and I stay in the process until everything works out, and it's a win-win for everybody. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And the other thing is I'm a firm believer in not burning bridges. Like, do not burn your bridge. Even if something doesn't go your way or something, you know what, just say, you know what, it didn't work out this time, and that's okay. The next time I, run into something that needs your service or wants to hear about you or whatnot, I'll go ahead and do it. And that's another thing I do.
Act right here.
So, there's people, I just talked to somebody that I've worked with so long ago, and I remember calling him today, and he answers his phone. He's like, hey, Holly. And I'm like, hey, Ryan, how are you? Hey, Ron, how are you? And, and I haven't talked to him in a year. But it just so happened something fell on my lap, and I connected Josh to him, and then I called him to let him know exactly what I was doing and why I was doing it, and that's what connections are, and that's what relationships are. It's not about, can they do your deal right now.
Right.
Because it might not be right now. You might not be ready for the blessings that are coming for you. You might not be prepared to know what to do. And so it's just keeping your bridges. So if a deal doesn't work out, you don't just say, you know what, screw you, don't call me, lose my number. And a lot of times that happens to me where I'll be trying to do a deal and it doesn't work out, and the person on the other end gets mad at you, and you're like, hey, I wanted this deal to work out too, but obviously it's not the right time, and that's okay. You don't burn your bridge, you don't hang up on them, and you don't piss them off, because then when you have something for them, they're never going to accept a call from you anyways, right?
Perfectly
You want
said.
people to be like, wow, you know what, that Holly girl, I really like her. She's cool. She helped me out so much. She connected me, and that didn't work out. And instead of yelling at me because I couldn't do my end, she just said, that's okay, we'll find somebody else that maybe, that maybe can work with you a little bit better, or maybe can work off your procedures. And it's about building a bridge that you can go back and forth multiple times, numerous times. And so
I'm so glad you're telling our listeners that. It's so beautiful. Everybody's so used to instant gratification.
Yeah.
And if they don't even get a text back immediately, they get offended.
Yeah. And
listen to Holly. She's onto something, guys.
I think instant I mean, some of the biggest deals don't happen overnight. Right?
Absolutely.
And like, there's things that I want to happen right away too, and you can't put your focus in on that. Like, you can't just make that your primary focus. Like, you should always have other things you're doing and happening in your life that you're not just consumed with that one itty-bitty detail, right?
Correct.
Because sometimes it's all synergy. And so, like, right now I'm waiting for one of the biggest deals in my life. This deal is the biggest deal. I don't even want to get into it, but it is so big. I've never been in such a big deal in my life, and I'm still not even. I don't call them and say, did the contracts get signed? Did the final, everything's signed except for one signature.
Okay.
And it's so big. This is life changing what we're doing right now. And I think I called him this morning to say, hey, how are you? Do you need help with anything? Not, did it get signed? When is it going to get signed? When is it going to start happening? None of that. Because I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. And so even though that's going on, I'm still not calling him or texting him all the time. No, I have other things I'm focusing on too, like this, giving a great interview, because I want to make sure that people can use what I'm saying. Because if I don't know, like, if it's just all about my accomplishments, like, nobody wants to hear about all your success. Tell them the real shit. Tell them the real, what you really had to overcome, right?
Yeah.
So to me, it's like my focus right now is trying to give somebody some type of advice or something that they can use that will help them and that will make them feel better, and whatever it is.
I know your accomplishments aren't even over yet, but with that attitude, you have no idea how big, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
you have no idea yet what's coming.
No, I'm just
so excited for you.
I'm excited for everybody. I mean, I know that sounds really weird, but people are like, why are you excited for everybody? And I'm like, because I'm a team player.
Yes.
I am totally, and I'm a loyal person. And like I was telling, a friend of mine, I said to them, if this deal ends up happening, which I kind of think it's done. I'm a firm believer in it's done. That's how I see things.
Okay.
It's done. It's already done. All I got to do is just feel good now. If I can feel good, and I can switch it to, instead of, is it going to happen? How come they haven't signed it? How come they haven't called me? Are they cutting me out? Instead of all that crap, I go, it's done. It's done. Now I need to go into allowing mode. And through allowing mode, it's going to happen. And how do I go into allowing mode? I just talk about how lucky and how great this is. And I started already planning.
Gratitude.
And I started planning, and I told my friend, I said, and when this deal happens, and when I get, when I purchase this, what I want to have a party. And not a party, look at me, look what I got. A party of everybody that's ever touched me, or touched my life, or helped me, or
like
gave me
advice.
Like a gratitude
party?
Yeah, or gave me advice.
That's
or
so beautiful.
Picked up my call and let me vent to them. Or was there when I was going through crap. Or sent me a card to say thank you. And I want to invite all these people to this event and have food and, cater it and make it nice. But have an unboxing to where everybody... Because I also think that money doesn't solve problems. Like, I really don't.
Right.
Like, I think that giving people opportunities is better than giving them money, okay? Because, I don't know. So, I want to do this event, and I want to invite all the people that have touched my life in some way, somehow, believed in me, whatever it is. And in each box, I want to do an opportunity with them. So, like, I have my sister who invented this really great idea, and she didn't have the money to go through some of the phases that she needs, right? And I know what she needs. And there's so many things that I'm doing that I'm, you know, you can't have all your balls up in the air, because if you're doing too much, then you're losing focus on things that matter, right?
Right.
So I guess I do want to help her. Is she on my radar? Absolutely, right? But I got to get these things done so I can give her attention. So, you know, what I would do for her is help her by supplying everything she needs to make this dream of hers a reality. By giving her an opportunity, by doing a joint venture with her, by giving her my support of context, or whatever it may be, right? And that's what I wanted to do, and I thought that would be so awesome. And then, of course, I've always wanted to, I think that a lot of people, like, there's so many kids out there, and this is, like, really dear to me, because there's so many people out there, and being in the dance world, I realized that I can't say her name, but there was a little girl, and she was a foster child, and she had gone through so much stuff, right? And just, like, I felt bad, because these children that are growing up with their mom and dad working, and, you know, and they're making, you know, ends meet. They're just trying to pay their rent, trying to get groceries, and trying health insurance if they can afford it, or trying to come up with money to take their kid to the doctors. And even the middle class people, because middle class people have it just as bad, because they can't get any assistance, you know?
Right.
So, and I realized that people's EFT for like $50 a month wasn't really going through. And so I really think it would be so great. It's probably Kai. I really think it would be so great to open up a studio, and like almost like a studio of the arts. And Josh and I have spoken about this. And where, regardless of your income, we have our sponsors pay for these children that can't afford dance, and put it in different areas where the income's not high, where we know. And give these children a fighting chance. Because here's the sad part, is when they're young and they want to do dance, or you want to do gymnastics, or you want to play sports, and your parents don't have the money, you could be just as talented but as other kids. But the other kids that have the money are getting trained, are being developed. So by the time you're in high school, and you get to try out for the dance team because it's free, or you get to try out for gymnastics or basketball or football, you're competing against all these kids that have been on the team since 2 years old. Well, you might be just as good and just as talented, but this little girl can spin 20 times, and you can't even do 2 turns. Because not because you're not better, not because you're not any good, but because you haven't had the training that they've had. So I think that they sit at home and they kind of feel bad for themselves, because they're like, I tried out for cheer and I didn't make it, and I tried out for dance and I didn't make it, and I tried out for this. Can you grab him, Nolan? And I didn't make it. And what ends up happening is that the energy, it goes into energy where they feel bad, and it's not their fault. Because
self-esteem.
Their self-esteem trashes and who they are, and it's really hard to get out of that. Right? It's really hard to get out of that energy level. And so I thought it would be really cool to open up like a sports camp, whether the kid wants to learn about photography or tap, jazz, ballet, hip-hop, cheer, tumbling, art, whatever it may be, that we have programs and mentorships in different cities, and where we can help these kids really like tap into their purpose and in their talent, and make them feel good about themselves.
That's
because
so
when you make other people feel good about themselves, it's kind of a trickle effect. So
that's so wonderful. So what organization are you going to do? Are you going to try to have this mentorship from? Only because you have like 30 different companies you work for and represent.
The Live Mana.
Live Mana.
Absolutely, because Live Mana is about. I'm sure you know Josh. He's the creator of everything, and it's really the reason why I got involved so heavily is because I love Josh.
He has a beautiful heart.
Yeah,
oh
and he's
God.
overcome so much, and he's like really a good guy. And
I adore you. I adore you, Josh.
And we're gonna call him because
Josh.
We're gonna call Josh, yeah, because I wanted it. Hold on.
She's checking her email. Everything good?
Yeah, I'm just. That's great. Okay, so we're gonna call Josh real quick. But at any rate, so it's about feeling good. That Josh's company is about living it. That's what it's about, right?
Lifestyle.
His lifestyle concierge. Everything is about like feeling good. The law of attraction, manifestation, positive energy, helping other people. Josh, are you there?
What's up?
You're on air with us. Say hi.
Hi, Josh.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
We're good. We were just talking about, remember how I was talking to you about the mentorships around like different cities for kids that maybe can't afford dance or cheer or tumbling or arts, and like doing something to really help them out and setting up mentorships to where these kids that can't afford stuff, we would actually instill programs where they can learn and like, you know, learn the trade and learn what they want to do, and money wouldn't be an issue, right?
Right.
Yeah, so we were just talking about that, and she asked me what organization that I was going to be putting it under, and I told her, of course, Josh and I will do it under Live Mana, because we are a firm believer that we want to, it's more about money, we want to help people out.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so I was just talking to, but I got your email, I just got your email right now, so all is good?
Yeah. Don't say anything on air, but yes, she's very excited. Very, very excited.
Did you talk to her on the phone?
No, you should see all of her text messages. I showed her a picture of the email I got, and she's really excited.
Okay, well, we need to send that to John.
Okay.
Because remember
Well,
what...
you have it now, too, so you can forward it.
Yeah, I'll forward it to John, because he wants us to be, you know, just in case.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay,
I
but...
love making our clients rich. It really, really makes me happy.
You what?
I love making our clients rich. It really makes me happy.
Okay, you do realize you're on air, right?
Yeah, but I love making our clients rich. It makes me really happy.
I know, but I'm just letting you know you're on speaker.
We won't say how rich you got that you made them.
Everybody in the world right now knows that we love making our clients rich, so that's fantastic.
Did you hear that? Everybody, Live Mana likes to make their clients rich.
Okay.
That's awesome.
It's about to be very rich.
Well, who is?
How are you ladies doing?
We're doing good. She has us on, even though I hate camera, she had to put us on live, and like, or is it live? Or
No,
what
we're
is
not
it?
live. We're not
Oh,
live.
we're not live, but there's like footage of us talking with our my big head.
I have
but
a big head too.
no, you don't.
Yeah,
She's
I do.
so cute, Josh.
Oh,
what the
stop.
hell?
She is awesome, right?
Yeah, I really, really love her.
I told you.
Yeah, she's like awesome. Well, I'm so glad that everything is working out. I'm very happy. And I got really good news again. So I'll call you after to tell you everything, okay?
That sounds beautiful.
Okay. You want to say anything?
I love you guys.
Aw, thank you. We love,
Love
you
you
too.
too,
Hey,
Josh.
Josh, I was telling everybody how you're like the Southern gentleman.
I am.
I think so in my
Yeah, you're like a big teddy bear, Josh. You're a really sweet man.
I am a giant teddy bear. That is very true.
You are. You're a sweetheart.
Okay. Well,
All
I'm
right,
so...
love you guys. Enjoy the show.
Okay, sounds good. Bye, Josh. So
Bye,
yeah,
Josh.
so we're gonna run that through his company,
Okay.
and that is one thing that we're doing. The other thing that, oh my goodness, the other thing that we're doing is there's actually another organization that I think is really phenomenal. What it is it's this lady that I met. Her daughter was actually, I believe, molested or raped as a child. And she basically, the daughter she wanted to reach out to other families and children that are going through the same thing,
Wow.
right? And so they put together, it's called Angels Power LTD. And basically, what happened is her daughter was 7, and she was married to a man, and the man raped her. And he's in jail. And her and her daughter, they got split up for 5 years. And when her daughter was 12, she said she wanted to start this organization and to help non-offending families stay together and not get split up like they did.
Right.
Because even though that happened, she got taken away from her mom, and her mom, I guess, didn't know what was happening. I don't know the whole story. So at any rate, so they wanted, they were basically...
Poor little girl got victimized twice.
Yeah, and so she, and I'm reading this just because I want to make sure that I don't say anything I shouldn't. She wanted to start an organization that helps the non-offending families stay together so they don't get split up. And she wants to show victims that you can be a victim, but you can also become a survivor and follow your dreams.
Absolutely.
And she's graduating from the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in May. And she's really doing great things with her life. And she's actually going to use her situation.
The little girl?
Yeah.
Grown up?
Uh-huh.
Oh, my
so
goodness.
she's using her situation and what happened to her to help other people and to change the world, right?
Oh, that's so beautiful.
I am totally...
Are you going to have her on your show?
I'm totally going to go behind them, and I'm going to help them with the radio and the PR and the marketing, and I'm going to help get the sponsors to come in and supply what they need for that house for these families and these children. And because that's something that's something super special, you know, for her to do that, like, what an angel. Like, what? And,
my God.
You know, and you have to think, like, you don't ever want to say, well, that's why it happened to her, but reality, really?
No.
She's so strong, and to take something like that and turn it into something positive.
Yeah. There's a lot of
heroic,
people
you
that
know?
get molested that they cannot find it in their power to heal.
Yeah.
And they'll either, you know, keep the cycle going. They'll try to drink, numb their pain.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't know how to deal. And this girl sounds like she took it and is doing something positive.
I mean, yeah, she's graduating in May, and like
beautiful.
they're setting up this, you know, they're setting everything up, and basically, I think it's going to be a great thing. It's called angelspowerltd.org. If you guys want to check that out.
angelspowerltd.org.
Yeah, and that has some information on it, but I am going to get behind that too. And there's just so many things that I want to do. So to help, you know, I'd love to set up a convention and bring out speakers and, you know, just kind of make the world a better place. So,
well, having been down that road myself and knowing a lot of people that have too,
yeah,
I would love to be a part of it.
Yeah, it would be amazing. It's going to be amazing. It truly is. So, I mean, I think that we just all need to come together and focus on the common good, because, you know, it's funny because a lot of people are so quick to bitch about there's so much crime and there's so much this and there's so much that, but there's so much love.
There's
so much greatness, and there's
you
so
don't
much
have to
joy.
be a victim your whole life.
Yeah, and like, you know, people are like, well, what is our world is crazy, but in reality, in everybody's households, there's a lot of love. The media is just not showing that. They show the, you know, what the killings and the murders, but there's more love and good than there is bad. Right, and we just need to focus on what's good.
I think too, in order to get past it, you have to acknowledge it and accept it and learn to heal. I think if you hang on to it and you keep it as an open wound,
absolutely, yeah.
It'll keep you debilitated.
Yeah, you're right.
You have to forgive. I mean, you never have to forget, but you do have to forgive.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you're absolutely right. I think that you have to forgive to move on.
Yes.
You know, and a lot of people think that forgiving is being
saying it's okay
with what they did, and it's not. No, that's not the truth at all. At all. That's like
basically,
the furthest from the truth.
in my heart, if you forgive yourself for something that happened to you, you're letting go of the guilt and the shame, and you're. I personally had to give it to God to handle. It's too much for me.
I think you kind of went into, you've now accepted it, and you're no longer trying to fight it. And,
or give it. The more you think about it, the more power you're keeping it alive.
You're giving it power. Yeah. So once you forgive, you're literally no longer giving that power.
Right.
And you're no longer resisting it or fighting it, or you understand, and you're taking a whole different role. You know, when you hold on to something, you're still being that victim. Right? And why would you want to hold on to something that doesn't make you feel good?
No.
Like, you know,
they've already forgotten about it.
And also, in addition to that, like, you want to feel good. And so by feeling good, if you forgive, you can go back into knowing that you've accepted what happened. You don't have to agree with it, but you've accepted it, and you're now, Yeah,
and once you accept it, you can. I talk to other people about it. Like, you don't have to hold on to those terrors.
Yeah,
you know, you can move past it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have our kids
absolutely.
with us.
Yeah,
2 months.
absolutely. So, yeah, I think that's all. I mean,
well, I'm so
good.
glad.
I don't know if there's anything else that we missed besides working and being moms. And
yeah, we're busy mamas, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
But our intentions are pure, and we're just trying to help people. Hi, little Betty. You're so cute.
Say hi.
Hi.
Yeah, so I think that's pretty much, I mean, I think we covered a lot of things. How do you feel?
Oh, I feel you enlightened everybody on the law of attraction. Please get down, dear. The law of attraction, if you have positive thoughts, they'll come back to you.
Okay. Yeah, positive thoughts, yeah.
Feed your brain anything and everything good that you can possibly get in.
Mm-hmm.
Don't feed the dark. Don't feed negative thoughts. And
No,
if you're around negative people, get away.
Just really protect yourself, you know, and really, like, every thought has an energy, and every person, like, really think about who you're around.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Like,
yes.
I try to put myself around people that are happy and that are positive and that are happy-go-lucky and that, you know what I'm saying? Like, because that's the type of energy I want to be around. I don't want to be around the people that are telling me how shitty life is.
Well, plus the positive ones, they literally will get off their butt and make things happen.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
You know? They really
I think they have a joy for a zest for life.
Yes.
And I don't, honestly, like, I don't think, like, make things happen anymore. Like, I think that you've started to go, like I said, once you switch into allowing, you'll have this impulse, and the impulse is greater than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have that impulse, then you act, because there's intention behind the impulse, right?
Right.
And that's when you see things just happening for you, like, nonstop. So I think your first order is just to feel good. Find something that makes you happy and hold on to that thought for 60 seconds. And if you have to keep switching thoughts, that's okay. Keep switching thoughts. But whatever you like, whatever makes you happy, and just, like, ponder that and play with that and toy with that and bask in that and feel good and change your vibration to attracting more good.
Right.
That's it. It's so simple.
Right. It's a choice, you guys.
It's so hard, but it's so simple. Because once you stop seeing through the eyes of circumstance, is what I say, and you start seeing the eyes through the eyes of faith or hope or allowing or whatever, you will never go back. You will never go back. Like, to me, like, I feel so good and so great about what's coming and so on cloud 9, and I'm not ever worried about anything. I really am not, because I know that I'm attracting greatness, right? And
that's right.
Who is that? So, I think that is by far the best, you know? I think that's the sweet spot.
Yeah.
And we're all creators, and we all are co-creating, and I mean co-creating by, like, we're able to create the world we live in to some extent. We really are.
We're making our own reality.
Yeah,
right,
and I think with that said, like, I don't know, I think you should have fun living. And don't sweat the small stuff, and don't let anything get in your way, and just become grateful and in an attitude of appreciation. And once you hit appreciation, it's just crazy how things manifest, like how fast they manifest.
Well, thank you guys. I just want to thank everybody for listening to myself and Holly Davidson. She is full of a lot of great advice, and she has so many beautiful things in the works. So
hopefully you guys got something out of it.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
so I hope that they found something they like. Thank you for having me on. It's so
absolutely.
awesome.
I've been wanting to have you on forever.
It's so awesome, and today was perfect. It just, like, worked out perfectly, and I got to be at my own house and hang out, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you. All right, everybody, tune in to Armed Radio Global with JOEROXX on Thursday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern. Everybody take care. Peace out.
Very cool. So now what?
Okay, so now what?
I got blown up.
You're
That
so
was
cute,
good.
Holly.
Was that okay?
Yes.
Okay, do you think you got good
You're adorable.
stuff?